Use comedy. We're walking like such a risky line. You're around a bunch of black people and you're like, man, you guys are acting like a bunch of N-words. And they're like, what did you call me? And you're like, haha, bro, you already broke out of slavery. No need to be slave to words. Having somebody else be like, bro, chill, okay? Or the gamer version might be like, hey, virgin, play the fucking game and shut the fuck up, right? If you want to gamify it. Having somebody else make a statement like that is nice for the person that's getting shit on, because then they don't have to worry about like sounding like a fucking feminist crazy woman or whatever because some other guy said something.
If that person plays 10 games in a row where
stop.
there's a single person that's like, hey man,
chill,
why don't you lay off? They're gonna shut the fuck up on game 11. They're not even gonna do it. You're not gonna convince them of anything.
I respect a lot of things that Dr. K says, but this does not work. And there's a
that is absolutely true. What Dr. K says there is 1,000,000,000% true. What'll eventually happen is
We're going to talk about women. Stick around to the end because we're going to solve sexism in this video. Now, I haven't posted in a couple weeks because nothing's inspired me, but I saw a tweet from It's Timmy, the Apex Legends god and good friend of the stream, that said my clips were taken out of context in a video that invalidates and diminishes the experiences of women. And, you know, I was curious. So I clicked on the video and I watched what I can only call the Ocean's 8 of YouTube videos. Just a hot, stinking pile of garbage. And it is titled, How Feminist Ideas Make Everyone Weak.
I appreciate the compliments. Thanks. Also, did anyone notice that he crapped on the all-female Ocean's 11 as a way of insulting me? Be careful. You wouldn't want to be labeled as a misogynist. So recently, a lot of creators who disagree with me have been reacting to my content. Normally, I just kind of ignore this stuff because going back and forth between reactions like that movie Inception is annoying, and I don't find that kind of stuff entertaining. Particularly if there's no bigger narrative that's not just, this guy disagreed with me, let me tell you all the ways he's wrong. It just creates drama, and nobody really learns anything from it. But on this channel, I talk a lot about the most important thing not being who is right politically. The most important thing is de-radicalizing people and trying to create bridges that help everyone get along. And that's the common problem that I see with all these reactions. Whether or not these people have the correct opinion, they're exhibiting tons of behaviors that will radicalize their audience and divide people. I'll start with a little backstory. Over a month ago, Vosh reacted to my channel.
Yeah, probably. This channel's gonna get big. Well, it's already big.
Thanks for having faith in me, Vosh. Then Hassan reacted to me and said my content was awesome.
Dude, this is awesome. Okay, this guy's great.
Thanks, Hassan. I appreciate that. Then this guy reacted to me, whoever he is. And last, Ludwig reacted with the video that you saw in the intro clip. These creators reacted to a couple of videos of mine, but the most interesting reactions were to my video on the 2 documentaries from Vice and the BBC, which were basically plausible deniability pieces asking why women don't do well in esports, that were a lot more about promoting censorship and sexist affirmative action programs than they were about honestly investigating why women don't do as well as men in esports. You can tell that was the case because instead of asking very obvious questions of player demographics and competition, time invested in the skill, and realistically assessing the skills of the people involved, or talking about competitive trends like the Pareto distribution, they immediately go to the patriarchy and to pushing for women to get competition spots they didn't earn because they happen to be born female. Without wasting any more time, let's get into the behavior that I think radicalizes people.
Now, we're going to go through a lot of this. You can see all the notes at the top and really dissect this video and why it has zero information.
Really? There's no...
Wait, what Pareto distribution has to do with, like, if you don't move if you move any resource, someone else will be worse off or something, right? Well, what is Pareto distribution of, like, men and women in gaming? What does that have to do with anything? Can somebody explain that to me? Or what am I thinking? Am I thinking of something different? Oh no, the Pareto principle or 80-20 rule stating that. Oh, that would be Pareto efficient. Okay, it's different than a Pareto distribution.
No information that I got right? Now, I can understand if you don't agree with the theme of the video, but I spent a lot of time talking about skill building. Work really hard, try to find a mentor who is already successful, and network with friends who have similar goals. This advice is the main reason why I made that video, and it's also a big reason why people watch my channel. You agree with none of that? I have a hard time believing that because you wouldn't have the success that you have if you didn't do at least one of those things. It's important to note that stuff because people are nuanced, and when you say your opponent can do nothing right by starting your video out with the energy of, there's no information here and I agree with nothing, you are vilifying that person to your audience, which will lead to extreme reactions and behaviors from the people who follow you because they believe they are righteously attacking someone who is evil and irredeemable. This is why when you write pinned comments like this one, tons of your followers disagree with you.
This should go without saying, but please don't find the creators being harassed them. I mean, they very genuinely make it in our community look like assholes. Okay.
Tons of your followers disagree with you and go and do the behavior that you're telling them not to do. If you want to keep things peaceful, how you say things matters. We all have to be careful about how we say things when it comes to disagreements. That being said, here's professional Apex Legends player It's Timmy doing the same thing Ludwig did in this tweet right here. My clips were taken out of context. I do not agree with any of the ideals portrayed in this video at all. None of them? No ideal in my video was good? If you don't agree that hard work pays off, then why do you work so much?
My entire life is literally online. I literally wake up, hit the live button, go to turn off the stream, go to bed.
Again, I understand if you don't like the main premise of the video, but there is no way that I said absolutely nothing that you agreed with. And personally, I am very careful to not portray people as 100% bad, even if I just give them one tiny point that's good. Simply saying I don't agree with the video instead of I don't agree at all is enough to let people know your position without suggesting that your opponent is incapable of good. The second part of Timmy's statement is something that people who disagree with me love to accuse me of. Timmy said that I took his clips out of context. That's not true. His clips were fully in context. I described the events, and I put the source material in the description so people could fact check it. I don't know how I could have been any more honest, though I will admit that I messed up the interpretation of this particular clip.
I killed one. He's low. Go for me. Bud's one. He's trying to thirst for armor. Nice. Get him.
I can't do guys. He full killed you? What a bitch, bro.
I said the bitch comment was directed at Timmy as an example of banter. People who reacted to it said it was directed at the other player, not Timmy. So I rewatched the clip to verify, and I do admit they were correct. I was flat out wrong there. It happens. Sometimes creators get things wrong, and the most difficult part about this job is that people really do expect you to get everything right. Seriously, you better not make a mistake, and even Ludwig agrees with that.
But let's be real. One bad analogy, throw the whole video away. It's just how it works, okay?
He's right. If you screw up an analogy or a metaphor, it will kill the video because people will hyper-focus on that mistake and ignore everything else. You'd be surprised how much one mistake can screw up an entire video. So my bad. If I had caught that mistake before the video released, I would have used a different example. That being said, let's talk about the stuff I think Ludwig got wrong. And a key feature of many of these bad takes or interpretations is that the people reacting didn't let me finish my point.
But it turns out that 50% of the people who play the esports aren't women. 50% of the people who play Dota aren't women. And he even goes into this.
Earlier they said Dota 2, right? What percentage of women play that game? 20%. What about another popular competitive game like Fortnite? 27%. Higher than Dota, but you can still see that there are way more male players than females, so it statistically makes sense for almost all the top players to be male.
Okay, going through that logic for a moment, let's just draw on that string. If 20% of the players are female, then through his logic, 20% of the top players should be female, or at least a close enough number.
Yeah, except you left out my explanation on why the number of female winners isn't reflective of the total number of women who play the game. First of all, it might be the case that not all 20% of women playing the game are competitive. So it might be 80-20 for total players, but maybe it's more like 90-10 male to female for competitors. I don't have the stats on that, but if that's the case, then it would explain some of the disparity. But more importantly, the way competition works is that the same people always win. It's called a pareto distribution. That trend is repeated in a ton of areas, and yes, it will be a super tiny fraction of participants who get everything. So when you have a competitive space that's 80% male, it's more likely that those guys will win, and once they do win, they are very much set in stone as the top competitors. That's the important nuance that Ludwig just skipped over. You can agree or disagree with that, but if you're trying to keep me in context, let me finish my point or at least describe it in your own words. Otherwise, you aren't giving the audience a fair interpretation. Especially when you're in an environment where it's winner take all.
And that doesn't even make any damn sense. You think the international's winner take all? Have you ever seen an esports tournament in your damn life? That'd be insane. You walk away with $40 million, and second place walks away with a thumb in their ass. It's usually like a 45%, 40%, maybe 50% if you're generous towards first place, and then the other 50% spread over to like the next usually 7 spots. That's how a tournament goes. So I don't think you've ever seen a damn esports tournament in your life, but...
To clarify, when I said winner take all, I didn't mean that only first place gets the prize money. I know how competition works, and I know that people who don't get first still get prize money. What I meant by winner take all is that a couple people make all the money, and everyone else makes nothing. That's typically something that describes creative fields, like YouTube. Tons of people try to be successful at YouTube, only a handful of people make a living. Compared to a welder, where if you take the classes and apply for the job, you're most likely going to leave with money in your pocket. As for the rest of these arguments, Obviously, I can't respond to everything. Otherwise, this video would never get finished. So if I don't pick your favorite comeback from someone who reacted to me, I'm sorry. What I will try to do is pick out the arguments that were strongest from them, and a lot of that's going to be based off of what I saw their audience saying the strongest arguments were. Here is one of them.
And he goes on to quote a Pew Research article from 2014 and talks about how men actually deal with more harassment online.
They mean to you. Everybody raised their hand, right? This is not exclusive to women. Here's data from Pew Research about online harassment from 2014. Most of the categories are even. Look, it says here that men are 7% more likely to be harassed online than women are when you look at all types of harassment.
Okay, that's a 2014 article from Pew Research. Pew Research does this article often. I don't know why.
Wait, you gotta have a better that data's from 2014. Like, I don't even know how popular fucking name popular contemporary figure was. Like, what is even what a weird. Is it because he sees Hassan does politics, so he kind of wants to too, or why would you even make this rejection? Like,
he went back to 2014. Again, this video was posted literally a couple months ago. They did a 2017 version and then a 2021 version. I looked it up, and it turns out that if you do the more recent one, the numbers have changed a bit, interestingly enough.
I know this was everyone's favorite point.
Well, changed a bit. Wait, changed a bit by how much? Well, now when he says changed a bit, that makes it sound like it doesn't change that much, but.
Right. It was also my favorite point, and I'll tell you why. For one, understand that Ludwig has a staff to help him with this kind of stuff, or save him time in other areas.
I can't do that now because I have 15 employees.
Outside of the guy who makes my thumbnails, I don't have a staff. I do all of this by myself, which means I only have so much time before people start saying, "Oh my god, where's the next video? You take forever." So I have to use certain time-saving techniques. I already had this study on hand, and I had already read all 8 pages of it, so I reused it.
Jesus.
Yes, it's old. I wasn't trying to hide that. I mentioned how old it was in the video. For those of you who don't know, research for sociological studies are typically considered out of date after 5 years. But you don't always have people studying the same topics every year, so if a study is older, you have to ask, why would this change? My suspicion was the numbers wouldn't be significantly different because there isn't really a reason for that abusive tendency to have changed. Domestic violence is a similar category, and that's been perpetrated pretty evenly by men and women for a long time. A family member of mine was a researcher on it, and those numbers have been stable since like the 70s. So my thought was, this video is taking forever, the numbers probably aren't different, therefore I don't need to spend time looking for more recent data. It's not as simple as, well, obviously Pew has done this study multiple times over the years. Again, I don't have employees like Ludwig does to look this stuff up for me. So
you should compare I don't know if don't have employees to look this stuff up for me, therefore I can be a lazy researcher. I don't know if that's like the best argument in the world. But then, so, I mean, like, is there a significant difference between then and now? Is he going to get to that?
I didn't know that Pew updated the study, and typically it takes lots of hours spent reading irrelevant crap just to find research that is talking about the subject that you're discussing. Anyway, here's the great part. The 2014 numbers I cited from Pew are almost exactly the same as the numbers from 2021. I was right. They were consistent. Now, there's not a huge difference between the total harassment that men receive.
It went 43% versus 38%, versus in 2014 it said 44% versus 37%. Okay. Well.
Versus women. So I will still say that men and women get harassed at a pretty similar rate, with men being harassed slightly more. But then Ludwig goes for the killing blow.
They did a 2017 version and then a 2021 version. I looked it up. And it turns out that if you do the more recent one, the numbers have changed a bit, interestingly enough. And the amount of gendered harassment has increased from 20% to 33% among those who were harassed from 2017 to 2020. So it turns out that this is becoming more of a problem. Maybe we should look at newer stats.
Great, except that's not what I was talking about. I understand that's what you guys were talking about, but since we're talking about what I was saying, my point in the video was about the erasure of harm that happens to men. I watched 2 different news reports about harassment, and neither of them made any mention of men going through similar experiences. Because the reality is that men do go through those experiences in video games. Now, I don't think this talking point has to be there.
Okay, I don't know if Ludwig addresses this in his video. This guy might not understand this. I'm assuming he's like good faith in trying to, but he might not be. I don't know. I'm just kind of. So when I point out stuff like this, the difference is that women tend to receive, it's not even gendered insults, because gendered insults doesn't even really get at what we're talking about here. When it comes to online gaming, women tend to receive otherizing jokes. So if you're playing a video game and there's a woman in there, you can make jokes about her about how she doesn't belong there. That's the unique kind of harassment that a woman will get. It doesn't make sense if a guy joins a game and you're playing at CS:GO and he misses like 3 shots in a row, and it's like, okay, yeah, you're missing every shot because you're a fucking man. What are you even doing in this life, right? Like that, everybody would look at you like, what are you talking about? That's like that type of insult doesn't work because this is a space for men, right? Whereas for a woman, a lot of jokes about women playing video games, literally the punchline is just that you're a woman. Like that's the whole joke, right? Like, oh, why are you doing it this? Like you're a woman. Of course you missed that shot. Woman moment, right? Like there's literally comments like this that are just the fact that you're a woman means it. So this is like the different types of harassment that people get. A man will never be made to feel like he doesn't belong. There might be generic insults, or insults that compare him to a woman, because that's how you insult a man, sometimes by comparing to a woman. But it's not gonna be things to make him feel like he doesn't belong there.
Their whole video, but you could have at least said something. I mean, I said something. I said that harassment is bad on both sides. And I'll add, particularly things like physical threats, stalking, or doxing, which I can imagine are incredibly scary for women. That's all I was asking for, and that's why I brought up the total harassment numbers and not just specific types. So stop saying this only happens on one side. And certainly Ludwig shouldn't be accusing me of being dishonest when he ignored the numbers that I brought up in the original video, which were right on page 1 and come before the graph on gendered harassment that he brought up. I mean, you couldn't have missed it unless you didn't actually read the study. I also don't appreciate Ludwig mischaracterizing me by saying that I hate women merely for disagreeing with him. Oh wait, he changed the title. I'll give him points for that. That's more courteous than the other creators were towards me. But anyway, despite Ludwig framing me as one-sided and sexist, he completely is one-sided in this video with harassment issues. First, let's go to the top of the Pew Research article. Oh, another point here for Ludwig. He actually cited his resources in the description. This is something that I swear that he didn't do when I first watched the video, but I'll accept it. Now, because I'm 90% sure that he did not have his sources cited until well after the video was released, I checked the description of every single video on his Mogul Mail channel to see if this is something that he normally does. The only video that had source citations on it was his response to me. My suspicion is that he or one of his team saw that I cite all of my sources and didn't want to look bad, so he added them to the video. But look at that, guys. We are influencing positive change and causing people to adopt more honest behavior. That's probably the best thing to come out of this reaction. Though I do have to point out that he didn't source the entire Pew study. The link just leads to a graph from the article, but I'm going to assume that was an honest mistake.
Sure.
Sorry that was kind of a tangent, but if I don't take the time to point out good things, it will radicalize the people who watch my videos. Anyway, let's read the top of the article. The subtitle specifically points out that political harassment is really high, and look at that, it is way higher than gendered harassment. Political harassment affects men more. Do you see how it's unfair to suggest that I'm a sexist when you yourself don't bring up the other side of the argument as a problem? I understand that you guys were talking about gender, but what I was trying to do in that video was to include other people in the conversation so it doesn't become a divide and conquer gambit where only women's issues are addressed. So on that note, you say that gendered harassment has gone up. I agree, and I will say that harassing women is bad. I think very few people would disagree with that. But here's what you're ignoring. Political harassment is super high. Political harassment affects men more than women. Personally, I think if someone says go F yourself because of your political beliefs, that's bad. It's also bad if someone says that to you because of your gender. But why does it only matter when it's gendered harassment? Is bullying suddenly okay as long as you don't make fun of someone's gender?
I am very curious about what the political harassment looks like, because how the fuck can somebody harass you based on your politics unless you've already said something about your politics first? Because now this is just a feel argument. I could be totally wrong, but it feels to me like if somebody's saying I got harassed because of my politics in a video game, sounds like you probably brought them up first. People that are like big like Trump fanatics are probably more likely than others to like bring up their politics. So it seems like, yeah, you probably do have a higher chance of getting harassed because you're the one that's bringing it to everybody's attention. That'd be my guess, but
It sounds like that's what you were suggesting.
You can look right here that men are more likely to be harassed based on their political views, and women are more likely to be harassed based on their gender. That's the problem. That's what we're talking about. That's what the BBC is trying to note. Not just, oh, raise your hand if someone said something mean to you once.
Holy crap, Ludwig. Do you know how bad political harassment is? This is a little old, but here's feminist Jessica Valenti writing on a major news publication telling people to harass, bully, and ostracize their family members who voted for Trump. I point this out because that Pew study said that political harassment has gone up a ton in recent years, and I think that it's articles like this that caused it, along with the insanity from mainstream news outlets such as Vice and the BBC. Oh hey, here's a girl from last year yelling at a guy who was quietly studying because he had a Police Lives Matter sticker on his laptop. People have lost friends and family over political harassment. People have been assaulted over political beliefs. I mean, political harassment is such a big deal that it's in the header of the article. Why is that not also an important issue? Why is it better to sit here and play a game of whack-a-mole with specific areas instead of trying to fix the problem in general, which has a lot more to do with reintroducing two-parent homes into the culture and promotion of mental health than it does to do with shouting the patriarchy everywhere you go? Honestly, I don't get how I'm the closed-minded one when I'm saying that all of the categories of harassment matter, including gendered harassment, and you're saying that only a specific type of harassment matters. That's what I was saying, and that's why I brought the Pew research up. I don't like how there's millions of news reports done by big corporations that exclusively talk about women's issues, act like men are always the aggressors, and very rarely address men's problems, which is exactly what Vice and the BBC did in those reports. I mean, this stuff is everywhere, like how there's tons of promotion for International Women's Day from all the big companies, but for the past 3 years, I haven't so much as seen a tiny banner on Google for International Men's Day. Worse, Amazon and some other companies are trying to reappropriate that day to Women's Entrepreneurship Day. The constant crapping on men from these major outlets is why I made this channel to discuss it. One more thing on the Pew study and I'll move on. I made a point in the original video saying that men and women experience things differently. Here's data that says that despite that men get harassed more, women complain more and are more upset about it. The point of that segment of my video is that the media is trying to use that proclivity in women to enact censorship because that's what mainstream news does. They take a problem people are complaining about, and they use that as a mechanism to make an authoritarian policy the solution to that problem. They did that with hate speech, which begs the question, who defines hate speech?
The problem with restraining speech is who gets to set the rules. If it's only okay in a certain time or place, who gets to say what time and what place?
This is from a character from the Boondocks who describes himself as a leftist. Back in 2005, the left used to be the cool anti-establishment party. Now they are just shilling for the same censorship that the establishment tried to use conservatives to implement back in the 2000s. The problem is not the right or the left. It's establishment forces such as Vice and the BBC trying to set narratives to control everything. Look at this. Remember when the left used to be cool?
I swear that boy just like to be miserable. He can't enjoy nothing. All he want to talk about is the Build-A-Bear group, the Federal Reserve, and all that bullshit.
I can't believe that the party that used to contain all the edgelords when I was a kid is now avidly in favor of censorship. But it's not the reason for the censorship that matters. It's the fact that they can take a random issue and 10 years later use that as an excuse to censor political ideas they don't like as the culture accepts the censorship. Much like what Huey from the Boondocks was referring to in that prior scene. Speaking of that, the next major point that Ludwig makes is about a streamer who goes by Spontaneous. Let's watch.
In fact, you can see this entire series, which is funny in a terrible way, from a creator named Spontaneous, where she documents all the harassment she receives while playing a game.
That's inaccurate framing. If you actually watch the series, it also contains weird or funny moments, and many moments of people just asking if she's a girl instead of a 12-year-old boy, which is not harassment, it's asking for clarification. But go on.
She
well,
started
that
series
depends.
in 2018 and is still ongoing 4 years later. Let's just watch this clip.
Oh my god, you're terrible.
It's coming down, Cool Vibes.
Yeah, we didn't ask. We really didn't.
I want you guys to note, this is round 1.
Yeah, it sounds like those guys are being assholes there. But here's something I noticed because I actually watched the entire video with Spontaneous, as well as several other videos in this series. Many, and I mean many, of the times she talks to people, she is doing exactly what I said these women were doing in the original video about Vice and the BBC, which is that these women are actually instigating the negative treatment they complain about.
Are you a female?
Are you an idiot? I can ask stupid questions too.
What? Why was that response warranted? He's just asking a question. What's the...
Okay, her response is dog shit, but also the question is annoying too, right? Like, are you a female? Who the fuck cares? I'm just playing games. I'm not about to fucking date you. What do you mean? I'm not your future wife. I feel like both sides are kind of missing the point here. Or maybe this guy's just missing the point.
Context of this situation. Now, he said something very slightly rude after this that I'm sure she considers to be harassment, but of course he did that because she was mean to him from the start. If you want people to be nice to you, then you need to be nice. And I didn't have to like search her entire internet history to find this. This was the same video that Ludwig cited. By the way, why did that guy ask that question? We don't know, but maybe it's because it's unusual for women to play tactical shooters. Look at this chart. Tactical shooters have some of the lowest participation from women.
That's kind of
so
the point,
though, right?
It's rare and
interesting to have a woman on your team. The crazy thing is that she knows very few women play this game, but then she belittles men for saying, oh my god, it's a girl.
Thunderbird, can you not put your healing station on the hatch? Can you put it somewhere else?
Oh my god, is that a girl? Oh my god. Oh my god.
Surveillance on bomb.
But when she finally sees another girl player, she does the same thing that she belittles the guys for doing.
Skylight? Ash?
It's a girl!
Okay, that's kind of dumb.
How many times do you get mistaken for a little boy?
God damn it.
Pretty often.
Ugh, I'm not the only one.
Spontaneous, just because you're annoyed
little
by the
different,
question doesn't mean you get to be mean. These are different people. They don't know who you are. Hell, I was a vegan for 7 years and I constantly got asked the same questions every time I was around food. I always politely answered them and never made faces or responded rudely like she did. I mean, listen to her. She's having a literal meltdown from being asked a simple question.
Is there a girl in here?
Oh my god, he's being cringy. Please ignore him.
I'm joking.
So the issue isn't, remember, the issue is never like being asked a question or like being called a racial slur or being treated a certain way one time. It's when it happens over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, right? Like somewhere in my audience is a cashier that has heard the joke. You know, you go to ring an item up, it doesn't ring it up, and so he's like, oh, I guess I get that for free. Like a million fucking times. And you just want to kill yourself every time the person says it, you know? The issue is never something that happens that's bad. The issue is when it happens over and over and over and over again. That it's like, Jesus Christ, please stop. And for gaming, it's not even like this happens like every, you know, day. It's probably, depending on the type of game you're playing, it's happening like every fucking day, right? Or I'm sorry, every fucking game.
It's not funny. I hope you know it's like not a funny joke.
Were you offended by my joke?
No, it's just annoying. I hear it every game. It's not a joke.
I get it.
It's just stupid.
So what's with all the attitude?
Because I'm tired of hearing it every time I speak. Because it's the dumbest shit I've ever heard.
What have you been hearing?
What the f do you expect?
Is that a woman? What do you mean, what the f do you expect? I'm a literal human being, just like everyone else playing the game. Why are people so shocked?
All that guy was trying to do was lighten the mood. If it's not funny, just don't laugh. You don't have to have a tantrum over.
This guy needs to play some games with women for a while. That's what Black pilled me on this shit. Like, what's wrong, honey? He's just asking a question. Why are you getting so upset about it? Well, when you have to deal with it every single fucking game, it can get grating after a while. I think I lasted 2 days playing with Cheeks, and then I was losing my mind.
Brett? Look, she does it again. The same guy asks a simple question, and she is super rude.
Do you happen to stream?
No.
I'm just curious. So hostile.
Because anytime a girl plays the game, are you streaming? You must be streaming. You can't play games without streaming.
You are so offended by everything I said. God
Yeah,
damn,
because
chill out.
it's all stereotypical bullshit that women have to hear every
I literally
game.
just asked if you stream. Bitch. Anybody can stream. Are you f***ing? I stream.
Yeah, but you are a streamer, so he's right. Streaming is like a normal thing now that lots of regular men and women do, so it's not a strange thing to ask.
He was asking.
See how she turned a.
No, he's asking though because she's a girl. He wants to go to her stream, see if she's hot, and then ask if she has an OnlyFans. That's what he's doing. Come on, like.
Simple question into a shouting match? Like, what is this? Imagine if a person I don't know asked me, hey, are you a YouTuber? And I said...
Imagine if you walk up to a black person and she's like, do you guys get sunburned? Do you guys really need lotion all the time? Like, what? Like, do you walk around with a pick in your hair when you're at home? Like, imagine going, is it true that you guys all use washcloths? You never touch the bar of soap? Like, what are collard greens, LOL? Like, imagine walking up to a black person and be like, bro, when you see oceans, do you get scared because you probably can't swim? Like, I'm just asking a question, dude. Like, it's just a like, chill. Like, it probably is kind of, even if the question on its face isn't annoying as fuck, hearing it 50 trillion different times is probably annoying as fuck.
Say, hell no. Why would you ask that? Are all men supposed to be YouTubers? That's so stereotypical. As it was shown in an earlier clip, this whole interaction started because he asked if she was a girl. Come on, you've been playing this game for like 4 years. At this point, you know what you're walking into. You don't have to be so rude when people...
Is this guy either bad faith or autistic? No, I don't think the guy's bad faith or autistic. I mean, I used to make all these exact same arguments. I think if you don't... have the experience of seeing like how annoying something is, then it just seems like, why would you complain? And I think I can empathize with that position of like, everybody gets harassment online. Like, why the fuck are you complaining about harassment? You make it sound like it's unique to you. To be fair though, to this guy, and to be fair to my past self, a lot of like SJW types or whatever you would consider me now, are really bad at explaining why it's annoying. They'll just say like, oh, when women get harassed, it's bad because it's sexist. It's like, what? Okay, I don't know. Like, that's not a good explanation. So like, I understand why it's harder for people to understand this. Like,
I'll ask you questions or make a small joke because you hear it a lot. It's called a conversation.
It's not a conversation.
Actually, you know what? Here's what annoys me. Every time, and I swear every single time I talk to someone, they always start the conversation with, how are you? I am so damn tired of answering that same question every day and multiple times a day. Do you see how ridiculous she's being? There are tons of examples.
No, but how are you? If there was a girl playing a game and somebody's like, oh, how are you doing? Well, it might be weird because you don't normally ask that in games. But if somebody just asks a game question like, hey, what's your favorite gun? Like, they probably wouldn't be irritated. The issue is that they're asking these questions. If a random guy in CSGO like opens the mic, is like, can somebody drop me an op? People aren't asking like, hey, do you stream? They just do what he asks, right? Or they call him a loser and they don't. But if it's a girl that says it, it's like, hey, do you have like an Instagram or whatever? Like, they're asking because she's a woman. It's the different experience.
Of her behaving like this. Here's another one from the same video that Ludwig cited. I didn't even have to look very hard to find this.
Hold on.
Protect the bomb.
Whoa. Do we have an e-girl in this lobby?
Oh, we have an idiot in this lobby, I can tell you that.
Oh, I mean, I was gonna compliment you, but never mind.
E-girl is not a compliment, sorry.
I understand that e-girl has a negative connotation to it, but it can also, to some people, just mean a girl who streams.
No comment.
Instead of waiting for him to clarify which definition he was using, she immediately assumes it's the negative one, goes off on him, and ends up being wrong, which means she's the bully here. Even still, like I suggested people should do in my original video, the guy disregards her rudeness and makes a joke.
Well, that's just what you are.
No, I'm not.
I'm sorry, you're right, you're not a e-girl, you're an I-lady.
Alright, I'll accept that. That's better than what I usually hear. You didn't tell me to go to the kitchen, so I'll take it.
What did he call you?
Called me an eye lady.
Eye lady, that's in your face! Oh!
Sorry, not funny.
God, she's in bathroom!
She's in bathroom.
Oh no, not good, guys.
It was a little unclear that she was laughing at that joke, so just so I don't get accused of taking anyone out of context by the people who disagree with me, here is her saying that she thought it was funny in the comment section. So she laughs, and the situation was diffused. This is how you handle this stuff. Use comedy. It results in way more positivity than being rude or mean.
Use comedy? I mean, like, we're walking like such a risky line. Like, you're around a bunch of black people and you like, man, you guys are acting like a bunch of N-words. And they're like, what did you call me? And you're like, haha, bro, you already broke out of slavery. No need to be slave to words. Like, come on. Like, what? Like, are you just supposed to laugh away like every dumb fucking thing you say? Like, it's like such a, like, what? Oh, man.
Speaking of her behavior, here's something interesting that I heard in a different video of hers.
I swear you're like a magnet. This is the
I
more
don't
weird.
understand.
This is like more weird stuff than I hear in like an entire month.
Yeah, because as you can see, she's instigating a lot of the fights and making these situations way more negative than they should be. She also has a really unpleasant personality, which makes people want to poke fun at her more. There's a reason she gets loads of bad interactions and her friend doesn't. That has everything to do with the way she speaks to people. Now, there were...
Honestly, what probably happens, big guess here, is her friend actually probably does get a lot of negative stuff. She probably just doesn't say anything at all. She just lets it slide because she knows it's not worth fighting it out every time. That's probably what's happening. Yeah.
Situations that were inappropriate, but if she was just pleasant when people ask if she's a girl or not instead of being rude, it would massively cut back on the negativity she experiences. And for the other stuff where people aren't truly being cruel, just do this.
You know, I made a tweet not long ago saying, hey, you know, as women, maybe we should stop being victims here and stop calling everyone a misogynist because they make a get in the kitchen joke on Xbox Live. It ain't that deep. It's a joke. Just toss it right back at them.
That's how you do it. I love how Ludwig calls me a misogynist in the original title.
The thing is, though, is that you can't do that, and everybody knows it, okay? It's like the joke. It's like the what's it called? Invincible? Is that the name of the superhero one? Where there's like the 400 words for white people, like mayo, monkey, crack, whatever, and then there's like the guy has like the N-word, and he's like, look at how much they need to match our power, right? Like, what is a woman gonna say to a guy who's insulting her for being a woman? Are you gonna insult me for being a male? Like, what are you gonna say? Like, one of us clearly knows that this industry is built for, shaped by men. Like, everything around it, like, works for men. They win all the esports. They're by far the biggest designers. Like, all the games traditionally have been made for men. That's changing in the recent years. But, like a woman's not going to ever say anything. Oh, maybe she can go for dick size. Maybe women should arm themselves with, like, a whole, like, fucking armada of small dick jokes. Maybe that's the way to go.
And leaves out the clip I included of a female gamer agreeing with me. Guess what? A lot of women agree with what I'm saying on this topic. Again, I'll take it back to me being formerly vegan for a bunch of years. Not only was I asked the same questions at every event, I was also made fun of at every event for being vegan. And I mean I was made fun of constantly. I never got mad. One of the ways you keep these interactions lighthearted and positive is to play into the stereotype and make fun of it. I said I was a soy boy, I virtue signaled about everything. Every so often, a family member or a friend of mine would try to go vegan or vegetarian, and I would ask, how does it feel now that you're better than everyone else? Because of this, I would constantly get positive feedback from people, and they would compliment me for not being a total zealot like tons of vegans are. Making fun of your...
He doesn't realize it, but he's literally describing like a pick-me. Like, that's literally what that is, right? It's like, okay, well, all of these people are going to attack me and shit on me all the time. Well, I'm gonna shit on me and people like me too, and then they'll like me, and then that's how I diffuse the situation. Like, okay, well, I mean, like, it's kind of a shitty thing to have to do. Like, I don't think we should be demanding people do that. I don't even think that should be the social expectation, right? That is like the definition of a pick-me. Like, I'm not like the other vegans. They're all shit and soy boys and blah blah blah. It's like, okay, well, what kind of biome or world genesis is common? Yeah, they change everything out for fucking caves, okay? I don't know why.
Yourself changes the interaction to something friendly. Getting offended all the time is not the most effective solution. Certainly, it's a great way to make people hate you. So if you want respect from these people, then start the game out by saying, go easy on me, I'm a girl, and then proceed to carry the match. Ludwig said she was good, right?
I'm literally the reason we're winning this game right now. You're giving me so much shit at the beginning. They shut their mouth real quick when you start carrying their ass.
I mean, this is so easy. They are playing a tactical shooter that is staged in the house. If she makes a joke saying, I'm going to defend the kitchen, they're going to think that's funny and respect that. Guys are so tired of feminists getting offended by everything that they will treat you like a champ if you do that. This is what works. Being pleasant and playing along with the joke. What doesn't work is this thing that Ludwig suggested from Dr. K.
Is toxic towards a woman, you don't have to attack them. You don't have to defend. You got to say, hey, man, you think you can cool it a little bit? Like, do you really think what you're doing is decent? And then what do? They start calling you a simp. Fine. You let them. You don't have to fight them. You don't have to convince them. You don't have to do any of that shit. You don't have to show him you're right. That's all you say. Like, hey, man, can you lay off? And then if he keeps going, you can apologize to the woman. You can say, hey, I'm sorry you have to deal with this. Sounds like it sucks. I can only imagine. If there's something I can do, let me know. That's all you got to say. 30 seconds of speech.
I feel like the second part there is way too much. A little bit cringy. The first part is probably true, though. These guys, they can't get out of here, right? Why was there a baby cow up there? The first part is actually unbelievably true. The first part is super true. If somebody is being shitty to somebody in a lobby, having somebody else be like, bro, chill, okay? Or the gamer version might be like, hey, virgin, play the fucking game and shut the fuck up, right? If you want to gamerify it, right? Like, having somebody else make a statement like that is nice for the person that's getting shit on, because then they don't have to worry about, like, sounding like a fucking feminist crazy woman or whatever because some other guy said something. So, like, that's like a nice thing to do. Now taking it the step further, and I don't blame Dr. K maybe because I don't know how involved he is in like this type of culture makes you sound like a fucking creepy stalker fedora tipper that's trying to fucking rape her. Oh, I'm so sorry. You have to deal with this. Let me know if there's anything else I can do to help. But the first part of that statement is super true, I think.
And then he can get mad at you. Why does he get mad at you? Because you're fucking right.
Obama.
Does that solve the problem? No. In the next game, there needs to be someone else like you.
Yeah.
And in the next game, there needs to be someone else like you. And I guarantee you,
eventually the behavior will change.
That if that person plays 10 games in a row,
they'll
where
stop.
there's a single person that's like, hey man,
chill.
Why don't you lay off? They're going to shut the fuck up on game 11. They're not even going to do it. You're not going to convince them of anything.
I respect a lot of things that Dr. K says, but this does not work. And there's a...
That is absolutely true. What Dr. K says there is 1,000,000,000% true. What'll eventually happen is because eventually, and you'll see it happen with like, sometimes it'll happen with class clowns in school, but eventually what'll happen is you've got a guy that's used to making fun of somebody, laughing at somebody, and kind of like looking to the side to get laughs from everybody, and eventually it stops working, and then that person just becomes kind of sad, where you see it's like a bully, they're making fun of somebody, people look at them, it's like, oh, okay, dude. They don't get like the same responses or reactions, and eventually they just kind of shut the fuck up. Because the bully ends up getting like reverse bullied by everybody just like, what's the name of the bully laugh emote where you're not really laughing at them? But yeah, eventually they just get ha-ha'd. And then people are like, okay.
Ton of evidence in Spontaneous's videos that it doesn't work. All it does is make the guys madder or push them to do more of what she wants them to stop doing. Even if the guy is told to stop during a bunch of games, he would never get that 10 games in a row, especially because these kinds of ideas are losing the cultural narrative. Also, not only that, but you're infantilizing women by saying that some other guy should solve the problem for them.
And I mean, it's not about some other guy solving the problem for you. That is a horrible takeaway. And it's not about infantilizing people. I cannot tell you, okay, the difference that you make in a person's life. It has nothing to do with being a woman. When you're dealing with problems, having just one other person that's willing to stand up for you can like totally make the difference in how a person engages with a given environment. It can be like the difference between somebody like having like suicidal desperation over certain situations versus feeling like at least one other person like can understand that like people are being shitty. It makes you feel less crazy. It makes you feel like somebody's supporting. Like that's not an infantilizing thing at all. I would have actually applied this when I was trying to do CSGO for a while. I tried to do this in League, but you can't do it in League because those people are actually subhuman degenerate fucks. But something that you can do in CSGO, especially if you're top fragging, is when you've got like a bottom fragger and people in your team start shitting on them, tell the people to shut the fuck up, especially if they're like middle fragging or if they're like second to worst. When someone is bottom fragging and people are like, oh, this guy fucking sucks ass, blah, 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 just sound like, bro, shut the fuck up, especially if you're like top fragging, because people will eventually be like, yeah, okay, fine, whatever, and the guy will shut the fuck up. But when you have somebody in your team that's ragging on a teammate, right? That guy can't say anything, especially if he's having a shitty game. But if you tell them to shut the fuck up, usually they will. Usually they'll shut the fuck up. And then you just keep moving forward. Because having people flaming even your bottom fraggers is bad. In League of Legends, that doesn't work though, because people are actually from other planets of evil, and nothing you say or do will ever stop them from being horrible fucking garbage fuck human beings ever. Flaming in League is euphoric. Yeah, it also doesn't help too when the bottom fragger in League is actually doing it on purpose. That gets weird too. League is just a whole other dimension of shit, okay?
This is why it actually hurts women. I mean, on the surface of it, it looks like, oh, look, you know, women are wielding this incredible power. You know, but the truth is that it actually hurts women. It infantilizes women.
She was talking about Title IX here, but this infantilization applies in a lot of places. Women are strong enough to handle these situations on their own. That's my whole argument, and that's why
nobody is strong enough to handle being constantly fucking, like, having the same shit thrown at them every single fucking day. Nobody can do that. It is, like, the worst, most annoying thing in the world.
I'm talking about how to be respected in male-dominated spaces.
Nope.
I honestly don't see how all the people who are saying that women aren't strong enough to handle this themselves are the ones who are considered to be not sexist. You are calling women weak by constantly solving their problems for them. And what I also don't like is when they pretend that these people are 100% the victim and have never engaged in bad behavior themselves. I already showed you some of that, but here's Spontaneous bullying a kid.
Wait, are you a girl?
Can't talk right now, killing people.
Oh, girls that kill people. Hot. You're not gonna call bully hunters on us, are you?
You're probably gonna go in a video.
Yeah.
How about you toxic guys shut up?
Hey, we're just trying to be nice to a lady.
Jeff can't get a lady.
It's J rules to
Shut
you.
up.
I want to watch the video. I want to reflect on my choices as a 15-year-old man.
One of the many examples of the Dr. K strategy not working. But geez, that kid is 15. You were
Okay, but like, if that kid hears that enough, eventually he'll shut the fuck up. How can you not hear that that's like some cringy, creepy shit? Are you a girl? Oh, that's hot. Are you gonna call the bully hunters? I wanna come on pictures. Like, Jesus, like, chill, dude. Like, yeah, it's fucking weird to do that shit constantly, every fucking game, okay?
recorded this when you were 25. You're like a full-on decade older than him, and you're pulling this crap? What are you doing? There's a...
Just because I didn't want to play a comp. Bro, why are you so mad at me just because I didn't want to play a comp with you, you f***ing fat Cheeto smelling little You were begging to play with Frogo just because she's got a sweet little voice. My f***ing bad, I don't sound like an ooh-woo little bitch. I will literally shit in your Weetabix, mate. F***ing pedophile, you want me to sound like a kid? Oh my god, ew, is this better? I'll play comp with you, Pappy. Shut up, you f***ing pedophile little coming into my party. You think you're gonna talk to me like that? F***ing creepy little bro.
Jesus. A lot of missing context here, but what she did end up showing in her video wasn't even harassment. It was just a joke he said that wasn't funny. And I don't care if he said some of the worst things to you. He's a child, and everyone says dumb stuff when they're teenagers. You don't put him on blast on your YouTube channel with his username for everyone to see. Grow up. It would be one thing if he was an adult, but like I said, you are straight up a decade older than this kid, and you are putting a minor in a video to be publicly shamed. This is not the only time she's done this. Here's her bullying a kid again.
Glasses, you gotta hit those. Oh, Hibana hits me. On your left, on your left. Laying down, come on.
Shut your mouth, kid, please!
Hey, on the left, laying down.
Remember, this is a 25-year-old yelling at a kid who sounds like he hasn't even finished puberty yet and probably doesn't know any better.
Okay, but
So
he's
she
being
yells at
annoying
him
as
instead of
fuck.
politely asking him to not speak so much, which is the behavior that she wants from male players.
No, she just wants people to not be use gendered insults. Now, if she had videos, and she might, by the way, she might have videos like this, and if she did, I would disagree with them. If she had videos where people were just like, you suck, and she was like, oh, look at this gendered harassment again, then I'd be like, okay, that's bullshit. Like, you sucked in that game, the guy said you sucked. Like, that's being treated like any other guy. But it's when people are being gendered about it. Everybody will scream at somebody when, if they're doing this, like, crazy backseat shit. Of course.
Now, these videos are a few years old.
Do you stream gendered insult, by the way, Destiny? Yeah, of course it is. Wait, hold on. How delusional are you? If you join a game, do you think that any fucking guy is gonna give a fuck if you stream? Do you think guys are gonna ask, oh, bro, do you stream? Guys don't ask that question to guys. You only ask the question to that one person because she was a girl. He wanted to see what she looked like. That's what he's really asking. What he should just say is like, hey, do you have any pics? That's what he should have asked because that's what he was looking for. Co-parter.
So I considered giving her some leeway, but she pretty much pulls this stuff in newer videos too. Honestly though, Ludwig, this is your model citizen? Where's the girl version of It's Timmy who is never rude to anyone, going along her merry way, and unfairly gets attacked by misogynists? That's what these people are suggesting is what happens, yet I have never seen it. In every example they have given, if you watch these people long enough, they are initiating and engaging in toxic behavior too. And like, frequently. Oh, and here's something interesting.
You know, it's a similar thing that kids deal with. I had a problem when I was young where I had a squeaker voice, and I would talk and I would get roasted because of my squeaker voice. It's like an intrinsic quality about me, and not because I am dog shit at the video game. I am cool with people being mean because I am bad or do something dumb. I am not cool with people being mean because I have a trait that I cannot change about myself.
Here's
Ludwig actually has a decent understanding of this. That's true. Assuming he's applying this to the women thing as well.
Spontaneous making fun of someone's voice.
Alibi, you're a booty, bro. Oh my god.
It says your voice.
What? That is not nice. That was uncalled for in so many ways.
Okay, if he called her bad out of nowhere there, but it wasn't a gendered thing, she doesn't really have a right to like be weird about it. It's just that's what people do, right?
Were eliminated. As you can see, we have a guy here who is engaging in acceptable commentary about her bad gameplay, and she retaliates by making fun of his voice, which Ludwig said was not okay. As I said, this stuff wasn't that hard to find.
There must be some middle ground where guys can be surprised about being in a game with a girl since there are so few in comparison. No, there's nothing wrong with being surprised there's a girl in a game. That's totally fine. It is kind of surprising. The problem is how you treat them based on it, right? There's no, like, imagine if you were, I don't know, imagine if you work for some engineering firm and for some reason they rotated your teams around and every now and then, like, you wound up then, say there weren't very many black people, you work in like fucking Idaho, and every time you get a black person, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe you're black and you work in this engineering firm. Like, don't you think that that would feel kind of weird to say to somebody? And then don't you think it would feel kind of weird for them to hear that after a while? Like, okay, I get it. Like, it's just like, don't make people feel weird about who they are just because you don't see them that often. Like, it's kind of, it's a very like otherizing thing to do to people. Destiny is a god of virtue in YouTube chat. I'm not saying that I'm perfect or that I always do everything I say you should do all the time. I'm sure you can find examples of me fucking this up, even recently. I'm just saying as a rule of thumb, these are what you aspire to, okay? I'm gonna go fuck your mom tonight just for that comment. What was that guy's name? Dandelions. Wanna fuck her hard. Just for you.
It was in the video that comes immediately before the one that Ludwig used for his video on me. So this was recent. Now I'm sure she will say, well, that guy said some rude stuff too. I was taken out of context. Yeah, but he said that stuff after she made fun of his voice. She started it.
I was making fun of the other guy, not you, Destiny,
down when you threw gasoline on the fire. Seriously, Ludwig, this girl is a terrible representation of your values. Also, do you guys remember how Ludwig said it was not okay to make gendered insults?
And the amount of gendered harassment has increased from 20% to 33% among those who were harassed from 2017 to 2020. So it turns out that this is becoming more of a problem.
Well, here's Spontaneous throwing a gendered insult at a male player.
Did you hear my question?
Do you want me to compare them to your tiny or what?
I had to remove context from that.
Well, hold on. Did he start it though? Because that's important. Was he the one that said something about her being a woman and now she's making fun of every man? Because if so, in my opinion, I think that shit is fair game. No, not everybody views it the same way as me, but
that clip because of the wonderful unintended consequences of YouTube censorship, but she said that in response to someone asking about the size of a body part of hers. Certainly, I think that...
Okay, well, then in that case, that sounds like fair game, my dude.
Question from that guy was inappropriate, and you might say, well, she's just reacting, so it's fair game.
True.
No, it's not fair game. You said those kinds of insults were not okay. That was your moral standard. Personally, for me, my moral standard is that in public conversation where you're...
Well, I think it's fair to have that moral standard, but say turnabout is fair play. So, for instance, I would say that, like, punching somebody, you shouldn't punch people. You shouldn't hit people, right? I think we can all agree that that's a good standard. But then if you're like, well, some guy in a bar walked up and punched me and I punched him back. It's like, but your moral standard said that you're not allowed to punch people. You're being inconsistent now because now you've hit somebody after you said that it's wrong to hit people. I think there's a bit of a difference if it's in retaliation to the same behavior versus you instigating it out of nowhere, right? I would say, but...
You're arguing against someone who disagrees with you, it is inappropriate to name call. That's not everyone's moral standard, but it is mine. During these reactions over the past month and a half, I got called all kinds of names. Do you see me calling anyone stupid? Do you see me telling people that my opponents have a mental disability like Down syndrome or autism?
Damn.
Have I made fun of anyone for appearance factors they can't change in this video? No, but these were all things that were done to me by other YouTubers and their followers. Followers as in, the people they are trying to convince to not harass anyone. So there's a communication fail from those creators. The reason I don't do that stuff in retaliation is because I want people to uphold my moral standards. People don't listen to what you say. They watch what you do, and by retaliating with the behavior that you said was wrong, you're approving of it. Oh, and by the way, speaking of framing, I just want to clarify a situation because when I heard this, I got the impression that it happens all the time.
Insane to say I'm surprised. They go on to say some sexist shit, but look at the leaderboard real quick. Fucking hard carried 4 kills in the first round.
As a viewer, I had no idea who Spontaneous was, so I thought she was this top-ranked badass who was kicking ass and taking names, but still being belittled by male players. But after further investigation, I found that Ludwig did the same exact thing that Vice and the BBC did, which was remove nuance from the situation, which gives the impression that this was a much better player than she actually is. It turns out that Spontaneous is an average player and gets carried all the time. Carried here, carried here, carried here, and carried here.
What's their KDA or something?
This is a website that tracks ranked gameplay, and it says her overall rank is Platinum. I don't play Rainbow Six Siege, but I do play Apex Legends. I'm ranked Platinum. As someone who is a similar rank to Spontaneous at a different game, I have to say, I'm not that good. Ludwig implies that I'm not that good.
Now, the guy who made this video is like gold in Apex Legends.
Seriously, if Ludwig did more than 5 seconds of research for this video and just checked my community tab, he would see that 4 posts down I said I hit platinum last season. So why does she get to be made to look like one of the best players, yet you make me look like I'm not that good by saying I'm gold, which is very much a normie rank. We are basically the same rank, and she's been playing her game for like twice as long as I've been playing Apex. I haven't even been playing Apex or Battle Royales for 2 years. She has like 4 years of experience at Rainbow Six. She should be ranked way higher, particularly considering that she plays games professionally as a streamer. Oh, and here's essentially why Ludwig brought her up.
I want you guys to note, this is round 1. Round 1 of a competitive game where muting obviously makes you less effective and less able to win a game. Communicating is the main function of winning any 5v5 tactical shooter.
Also, I'm not sure if this was a coincidence or if Ludwig brought her up for this reason, but one of Spontaneous's clips was in the Vice video. I can't play it because this is 2022
Wait, does he
YouTube and I'll
disagree
get in
with that,
trouble
or?
for playing a clip of something that someone else said, but on screen are the appropriate videos and timestamps. I thought that was an interesting Snapple fact. Anyway, that was their big argument. It's a team game, so you can't mute people. Otherwise, you are way less effective, implying that it's bad to the point where solo queuing is unplayable with teammates on mute. I will admit that I don't know that much about tactical shooters, and I don't know anyone who plays tactical shooters, but it does seem like that particular game type would be hard to play with teammates on mute, so I'll concede that point on tactical shooters. However, I do know Apex Legends, and you 100% can hit her rank, which is platinum, with everyone muted in solo queue. I know that because I did it. You can probably hit diamond that way too. Apex has communications and pinging down so well that playing with people who don't even speak the same language as you is not that much of a problem. Yes, you have to be a lot better at the game, but it's not impossible to play with your teammates muted. And if you still have trouble, go find 2 friends so you don't have to play with randoms. It's not impossible to find people to play with regularly. Another game that was mentioned was Fortnite. That's also a battle royale, so I'm sure it's not that much different, and I believe that Maddie from the documentary was playing by herself. Racing games were mentioned. That's an individual game. Arena shooters like Call of Duty are difficult with muted teammates, but it is possible to rank high in those games if you're good. Last was MOBAs like League of Legends, which you can also play with muted teammates and still do well in ranked. Let me just remind you that tactical shooters have the second lowest participation from women. So I'm asking, are you trying to take the one exception to the muting rule and make it seem like it accounts for the entire conversation? Because if that's what you're doing, then that sounds really dishonest. And let me remind you that the purpose of the Vice and the BBC documentaries was to call for censorship. Those are very pro-censorship organizations. Censorship has all kinds of unintended consequences, which is why you have to be extremely careful about its implementation and why I would rather opt for teaching players how to deal with these situations without censorship. Because if we keep going down this route, eventually everything will get censored and eventually we won't be able to say anything. Case in point, let's go back to this line.
I'm cool with people being mean because I am bad or do something dumb. I'm not cool with people being mean because I have a trait that I cannot change about myself.
Okay, so we've established that it's fine to insult someone if they're bad at the game. Hassan also said something similar in his Twitch reaction to me.
When I, as a dude, get fucking harassed on the internet, okay, people are calling me an idiot, calling me
Himbo.
They're calling me names, okay? That's entirely different than someone fundamentally undermining your existence by one of your intrinsic characteristics, okay?
Jesus.
So we all agree
undermining your
here.
existence.
They say it's okay to make fun of bad players. I think it's okay to do that as well. Now let's take a look at this. This is a notice that I got from EA Games Customer Experience Team. I have been playing online games my entire life, and this is certainly a first for me. I received a 3-day ban for saying that my teammate was bad at the game. Remember how we all agreed that it was okay to do that? Well, they are still censoring it. And he was bad at the game. In a ranked game, he ran like a mile away from his teammates and let us get jumped by an entire squad, which resulted in us losing a squad member. Should I have communicated that more nicely? Maybe, but does everything have to be sunshine and rainbows all the time? I don't think so, and I know Ludwig's followers don't think so because they have said a lot of mean things about me over the past month. By the way, they should be allowed to say those things because I believe in free speech. Free speech isn't for the speech you like, it's for the speech that you find offensive. So I would much rather resolve this with communication skills instead of censorship. Then we can spend time focusing on the real harassment issues like stalking, physical threats, and doxing. Alright, sorry that was a long segment, but I so often hear, I'm being oppressed, where the person complaining is also abusive. Next point.
Because there's no existing support there, a lot of female gamers don't want to go pro. Genji has been making strong efforts towards building a program of female gamers. Develop them, find coaches, coach up these female talent, scout.
Okay, I think people have the right idea that women are like pushed out of gaming because of cultural reasons, but I don't know if you can do anything about it by the time you're like 18, 19, or even like 16, 17. I think the issues come like a lot earlier than that. Like, I think it's pretty rare. This is a guess that I'll make. It might not always be true, but even starting a major hobby by the age of 14 is probably pretty rare. Like, it was really rare that I didn't start music until I got to high school. Every other person, when I made All-State and all of that, all of those people started playing in like 3rd or 4th grade. It was super rare to find somebody that started when they were 14. Almost everybody started when they were a kid. When it comes to most hobbies, it's probably gonna be the case that you don't start playing games when you're 14. You probably started when you were like 5 or 6, or maybe even younger. So if you're trying to find girls that just started playing kind of casually at like 14, 15, and then like started to play kind of hardcore when they hit like 19, 20, you're missing like, you're missing years of experience at that point. Yeah. So I think it's pretty hard. It's not impossible, but it's going to be pretty hard to combat that from like from the perspective of like, you're 18, now we're going to make support groups for you. Like, I think it has to be a cultural shift that happens at way, way, way earlier ages.
Help them out, and then really just make it worth their while to be the nail that sticks out.
Why does it need to be a program of female gamers? Why can't it just be a program of the best players?
They have that. What a useless point. They have both.
What I don't like here is that I made multiple arguments on affirmative action, and he goes for the weaker argument about Gen G. But do you understand how that framing from the Gen G guy is sexist? He said, we have a team of the top 5 players that can be mixed sex, and then we have a team that's only women. Equality would be a male team, a female team, and a team of the best players. Now, it may be the case that all of their top players are male, so they can say, all of our top players are male, so we wanted to try out a team that's just women. That's a good argument. But that's not how it was framed in the news report, and that's the problem I have with it. It was framed, everything is sexist, so we need a women's team. This framing causes division between the sexes, which I honestly think was the purpose of the documentary, because mainstream media does that constantly. Though Ludwig does kind of prove my point that affirmative action doesn't actually help people, which I thought was funny.
Gen G has a Valorant team, the normal Valorant team with the best 5 players, nothing special, and it turns out they're kind of fucking dog shit. And they also have a women's Valorant team that's totally separate, that tries to support women to make it more normalized in the space. They're also fucking dog shit. Shout out to Gen G, both teams suck.
I love it when people make my point for me. Maybe Gen G should stick to a narrative that is about merit instead of virtue signaling. By the way, I've used the word framing a lot, which is a media term. If you don't know what that means, framing is basically the way you present an idea. Ideas can be explained or described in lots of ways. Framing is how you choose to do that. Anyway, here's my stronger argument on the affirmative action thing being sexist.
There's mixed views about how to encourage more women into esports. One idea that's been trialled by Formula 1 esports this year is to guarantee a female player a spot in high-profile tournaments.
That is straight up sexism. Giving someone a spot not because of their skill, but because they were born a certain gender is sexist, and it causes division. So by doing this, you are actually going to create more players who are less welcoming to women because you have made the environment unfair. Last argument from Ludwig.
Maddie even saw this and posted, I'm dying rewatching the video. There's no way this dude takes my portion of a documentary out of context. Who the f wouldn't be pissed by not being able to play all 10 of their games because of power outage in a row? What the f? I was 2 points away. Yeah, she was basically 2 points away from qualifying. Her row of TVs and monitors shut off, so she couldn't play out her game and then didn't qualify. And his logic to that was try harder and be more like Mr. Beast.
Again, they love to say this when they disagree, despite the validity of their claim. Maddie, you were completely in context. There was a power outage, which I did bring up, so how did I take you out of context? But you still had a chance to qualify. You even said that you had a second chance the next day.
I'm pretty devastated. There was a power outage and I was 8 points away from qualifying top 200, but they didn't give us an extra 30 minutes so I could play my last game. So I guess I'm just ready for tomorrow because I know what to expect and I know I'll qualify if nothing else goes wrong.
Yeah, that situation was unfortunate, but the documentary was about getting women to place. My whole point was that if you couldn't make it easily to the top 200, then you probably weren't going to place.
And his logic to that was try harder and be more like Mr. Beast, which has about as much value as me saying, Jimmy Butler, you should maybe just shoot more three-pointers in practice and try a little bit harder and maybe spend a few more hours, and then maybe you wouldn't have missed this shot in Game 7 against the Celtics. You just didn't want it enough, unlike Mr. Beast, who does want it enough. Maybe next year, who knows?
There is no way you actually agree with this take in its full context. I'll explain what I mean by that, and I'll address the basketball game afterward. Maddie only practices 6 to 8 hours a day. That is not enough, and you have to know that being in the position that you're in as one of the top streamers and a millionaire. And you're also in the competitive Smash community. You don't get to these top positions unless you work all day, not just an 8-hour shift. Here's a little insider information on YouTube. If you want the kind of subscriber count that I have, then you need to make everything about YouTube. YouTube is your entire day. Ludwig, your friend Timmy does that, and I know your friend Hassan does that too.
I'm just a normal dude, okay? As normal as one can be while spending 8 to 12 hours every day on the internet by myself in a room.
And then he goes and exercises, which also counts as work because his appearance has an effect on his viewership. So I have a really hard time imagining that Ludwig thinks that he would be where he is pulling a 6 to 8 hour workday. Let me remind you that even the Cloud9 girls Valorant team says they practice all day.
It can be like a 10 to 14 hours.
How is this video an hour longer? Okay, we're good on this.